Amara Akoy's life changed the moment a black Korean sedan stopped in front of her house in Lagos, and three men stepped out wearing suits too sharp for the neighborhood. They didn't knock. They didn't greet anyone. They walked straight into her living room as if they already owned it. "Get your daughter," the tallest one said in a stiff Korean accent. "Now." Her father froze. Her stepmother dropped the tray of fruits she had been slicing. And Amara, who had walked into the room just in time to hear the command, felt her heartbeat stumble. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice small. The tallest man looked at her like she was an item on a checklist. "You, come with us." Her stepmother pushed Amara behind her immediately. "Who are you? What do you want with my daughter?" "The debt is overdue," the man replied, expression unmoved. "This is the arrangement. Before we begin, besties, please don't forget to like and subscribe. This is your only way of supporting us, as we also promise to bring you interesting and fascinating stories every single day." Amara's father collapsed onto his knees, tears spilling down his face so quickly it didn't look real. "Amara, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She stared at him, confused and scared. "Dad, what did you do?" Her father didn't answer. The Korean man did. "Mr. Akoy owes 30 million naira to our employer, Kim Haneul." His eyes locked onto Amara's. "The king of the underworld." Amara's breath left her body. Everyone in Lagos who had dipped their fingers in the wrong international business heard that name spoken in hushed tones. Haneul Kim. Ruthless. Genius. A Korean underworld king who controlled ports, smuggling rings, laundering networks from Seoul to Johannesburg. If a man like that sent people for you, your story usually ended in a morgue. Her stepmother screamed, "Take me, I'll go instead." "You are not who he paid for," the man said. "The agreement was your daughter." Agreement. The word echoed like a slap. Amara stared at her father, shaking. "You sold me." He wailed. "They were going to kill me, Amara. I didn't know what else to do." "You sold me," she repeated, numb, "to a Korean Mafia boss." The man motioned to his partners. "We're leaving." When they reached for her, Amara jerked back. "No, I'm not going anywhere with you." One of the men clicked something metallic. A small object pressed against her father's temple. A gun. "Come willingly," the leader said, "or we put a bullet in your father and take you anyway." Her stepmother collapsed to the floor screaming. Her father sobbed uncontrollably. And Amara, she felt something inside her tear so violently it almost made her collapse. "Stop," she whispered. "I'll come." The gun lowered. Her choice didn't matter anymore. She was already gone. They escorted her outside and pushed her into the black sedan. The windows were tinted so dark she couldn't see anything outside. The men said nothing to her as they drove, speaking only to each other in Korean. She understood none of it. She didn't need to. Her fate had already been sealed. She was taken straight to Lagos International Airport, where a private jet waited. Not a luxurious one, but a cold, silent aircraft painted in jet black, its insignia unfamiliar. They took her passport, gave her a new one, Korean lettering printed beside her name, and guided her up the steps with the same indifference you give luggage. She sat alone in a leather seat as the doors shut, and the engines roared to life. Hours later, they descended into a world she had only seen on TV, Seoul glittering beneath the winter clouds like a neon kingdom. But they didn't stay. They drove past the airports, past the bright city lights, deeper into the countryside. Amara hugged herself in the backseat. "Why am I here? Why does this man want me?" No one answered. They spoke Korean again, and she caught only one name. Haneul. Her stomach twisted. After nearly an hour of driving through winding roads and dark hills, the vehicle slowed at an enormous gate, steel bars carved with a dragon and a rising sun. Guards with black coats and earpieces stood on each side. The gate slid open. The car entered. Amara's heart dropped. This wasn't a house. This wasn't a mansion. This was a fortress. The compound spread across the mountainside like a private kingdom, cold, immaculate, terrifying. Snow fell lightly across the stone paths. Korean lanterns flickered in the wind. Everything looked ancient and modern at the same time. The king of the underworld lived here. The car stopped in front of a towering wooden building, carved in traditional Korean architecture, but fortified with steel frames and bulletproof windows. A man opened her door. Out. Amara stepped onto the cold ground as her breath fogged the air. The man nudged her forward. The air smelled like pine and winter rain, but nothing about this place felt peaceful. They led her through sliding wooden doors into a long corridor. The floors were heated, but the air felt colder than outside. Korean calligraphy hung on the walls. The lighting was dim. Every step echoed. At the end of the hallway, 2 sliding doors opened with a soft click. Amara stepped inside. And there he was. Haneul Kim, the king of the underworld. Tall, raven-haired, dressed in a fitted black hanbok jacket that somehow made him look even more dangerous. His face was sharp, symmetrical, cold. His expression unreadable, his posture absolute. He stood at the center of the room, like he owned every breath in it. He didn't look at her with desire, or warmth, or curiosity. He looked at her like she was a file he had already memorized. She swallowed hard. Why am I here? His eyes, dark, steady, emotionless, finally met her own. You were sold to me, he said in flawless English, and I accepted the deal. She stepped back. For what? What do you want from me? He approached her slowly, hands behind his back, footsteps soft against the floors. You, he said simply. Her pulse spiked painfully. That doesn't answer anything. It will, he murmured, in time. Before she could ask again, alarms blared, deep, vibrating tones that shook the walls. Guards sprinted past the doors shouting in Korean. Haneul didn't flinch. They've followed you. Who? She demanded. He turned slightly, eyes narrowing. The Serpent Clan, he said, and they intend to take what belongs to me. Without another word, he grabbed her wrist. Move. Amara stumbled as he pulled her behind him, her heart hammering, her breath shaking, her mind unable to catch up. Her life in Nigeria had ended the moment she stepped into that sedan. Now she belonged to a Korean king, whose enemies were willing to kill for her. Amara could barely keep her balance as Haneul pulled her through the sliding doors and into a narrow corridor lined with guards scrambling to their positions. The alarms pounded through the air like a second heartbeat, too loud, too sharp, too real. Her legs trembled from the cold and the shock, but Haneul didn't slow down. Why are they coming for me? She shouted, trying to keep up. He didn't answer. His grip tightened, firm, controlled, not painful, but absolute. They entered a side hallway where 2 guards slid open a concealed panel in the wooden wall, revealing a hidden steel staircase heading down. Haneul pushed her ahead of him. Down, he ordered. She hesitated. I don't even know what's happening. Down, Amara, he repeated, his voice low and dangerous. Now. It wasn't a shout. It was worse. A command infused with quiet authority that shook her more than the alarms. She went. They descended quickly, boots striking metal steps, the cold of the underground wrapping around her like ice. When they reached the bottom, motion-triggered lights flashed on, revealing a corridor of reinforced doors. Haneul pressed his palm to a scanner. A heavy door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a small, warm room with a padded floor, wall cushions, and a single low table. It reminded her of a panic room, luxurious but built for survival. She looked around, breaths uneven. You're locking me in here. You're staying here until the threat is neutralized. No, she said, shaking her head. No, you answer me first. Why are they after me? Why did my father sell me? Why you? Why Korea? Why? Enough, he cut in, stepping closer. You will get your answers, but not while armed men are climbing over my walls to take you. I don't understand any of this, she cried. I was living a normal life. I was working, taking care of my mother, dreaming about maybe opening a salon one day, and now I'm in a Korean mafia bunker because strangers want to kidnap me. That makes no sense. She felt tears burning her eyes, but she blinked them back, refusing to break in front of him. Haneul exhaled once, like he was holding something back. He wasn't a man who liked showing emotion, she could tell, but there was a flicker of something human behind his eyes. Listen carefully, he said quietly. What's happening to you tonight is not your fault. It began long before you were born. Her throat tightened. Before I was born. He nodded. Your mother did something the Serpent clan will never forgive. My mother, she whispered. She's never even been to Korea. Haneul's expression didn't change. She was. Amara felt the world tip. You're lying, she said weakly. I don't lie, he replied. And your mother's life before Nigeria is a story you only know half of. Before she could ask what he meant, the intercom crackled. Boss, a man's voice said in Korean. They broke past gate 2. Amara's stomach twisted. Haneul pressed a button on the wall. Hold them until I arrive. Yes, sir. He stepped toward the door. Stay here, he said. No, she grabbed his sleeve without thinking. You can't just leave me without explaining anything. Why are they? He turned, his eyes sharp. They are after you, he said, because you are worth more to them than money, weapons, or territory. She shook her head. But why? You are the only one who can access what your mother stole. Her pulse stopped. What did she steal? Haneul opened the door. Everything the Serpent clan owned. She choked on her breath. That's not possible. It is, he said, and they believe they can force you to open what she locked. Amara backed away slowly, horror rising inside her. You're lying, she whispered again. My mother is a simple woman. She cooks, she prays, she cries at Nigerian dramas. She's not some thief. She can't be. Haneul's voice softened. Not much. Just enough for her to feel it. She stole their fortune, Amara, and she hid it in a place only you can open. Tears pricked her eyes. She didn't want to believe him. She couldn't. Your mother, he continued, knew the serpents would hunt you one day. That's why she never returned to Korea. That's why she never told you anything. That's why your father fell into the wrong debt, trying to protect the truth. Amara stepped back again, hitting the wall. This is insane, she whispered. You're telling me my mother built some kind of vault. No, Haneul said. She built a system, and you are the key. Her throat closed. A key. Her breath trembled uncontrollably. I don't want to be a key, she whispered. Haneul's gaze softened even further. You don't get to choose the world you're born into, only how you survive it. She stared at him, chest rising and falling in panicked waves. He stepped outside and paused. My men will protect you, he said. Do not open this door for anyone except me. Then, softer than she expected. You're safe here. The door slid shut. And Amara felt the exact opposite of safe. She pressed her back against the wall, sinking to the floor. For the first time since the men walked into her Lagos home, she allowed herself to cry, quietly, uncontrollably, burying her face in her hands. She didn't know how long she cried. It might have been minutes. It might have been hours. All she knew was that eventually, between her tears, she heard something above the pounding of alarms. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Getting closer. Her breath hitched. She stood up quickly and wiped her tears, staring at the door with wide eyes. Haneul, she whispered. No answer. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Someone breathed on the other side. Then, a soft click. Not from the lock, but from the ventilation, great above her. A whisper slipped through the vent. Amara. Her blood ran cold. That voice was not Haneul's. That voice was not Korean. It was accented differently, rough, angry, familiar. Amara, it repeated, we've come for you. Her entire body froze. "We know you're in there." Her heart pounded violently. "Open the door," the voice whispered, "or we burn the entire compound down." Amara backed away slowly, her breath shaking, eyes glued to the door. She couldn't move. She couldn't scream. She couldn't think. Because in that moment, one truth became undeniable. Haneul Kim wasn't the only one who had been waiting for her. Amara's back hit the opposite wall as the voice lingered through the vent, low and poisonous, each syllable crawling under her skin. Her hands trembled so violently, she had to press them against her thighs to steady them. "Come out, little key," the voice whispered. "Come out before we break everything to get to you." She shook her head frantically even though he couldn't see her. "Go away," she mouthed silently, terrified to make noise. The metal grate rattled slightly, as if someone above was testing it. She covered her mouth with both hands to muffle her breathing. Then, a loud bang hit the vault door, followed by another, and another. Her legs nearly gave out. They were trying to break in. Alone in the underground bunker, with only a steel door between her and whoever wanted her blood, Amara felt her mind slipping into pure survival mode. She scanned the tiny room, nothing sharp, nothing that could be used as a weapon. Just cushions and a table, beautiful, useless things. The banging grew louder, more forceful. "Open it," a different voice shouted. "She's inside, tear the hinges off." Her vision blurred as panic clawed up her throat. No. 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 Where was Haneul? Where were his guards? Why was no one stopping them? She pressed her palms against the vault door, shaking from head to toe. "Please," she whispered, "please don't open." A deep impact slammed into the metal, and she screamed before she could stop herself. The banging paused. Then came a low laugh. "There she is," the voice taunted. "She's scared, good. Fear makes people cooperative." Amara stumbled backward, scrambling into the farthest corner. If they got in, if they reached her, they'd take her, drag her across the world, force her to unlock the stolen fortune her mother had hidden. Her mind replayed Haneul's words. "You are the key." Her stomach twisted so violently she felt sick. Footsteps echoed beyond the vault, multiple sets now, the sound of boots and metal tools scraping against the hinges. They had brought equipment. They were prepared, organized, desperate. And it was all for her. Through the intercom grate, the first voice spoke again, calmer this time. Too calm. "You know, Amara, you should be angry at him." Her breath caught. "At who?" she whispered, hatting herself for responding. "At Haneul Kim." The voice grew smoother, dripping with persuasion. "He bought you like cattle, locked you underground. He hasn't told you the truth. He hasn't shown you what your mother really did." Amara squeezed her eyes shut. "You're lying." A chuckle echoed. "Am I? Did he tell you your mother worked for us, that she betrayed us, that she ran with billions that weren't hers?" "He said she hid them," Amara whispered. "Yes," the voice hissed, "but he didn't tell you why she chose you as the key." Amara froze. She hadn't thought of that. Not fully. "Why?" she whispered hoarsely. "Because she knew," the voice said, "that if we ever found her again, we'd kill her. But you." A beat. "She thought we wouldn't kill you." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. "Your mother was wrong." Amara's knees buckled. She slid down the wall, shaking violently, trying not to cry. Her chest hurt from how fast she was breathing. The banging returned, harder now, the steel door groaning under the force. She pressed her hands to her ears, whispering, "Haneul, please, please hurry." The moment she spoke his name, the banging stopped. Dead silence. Then, "You're calling for him," the man hissed. "You think he cares for you. You think the king of the underworld protects anyone but himself." The voice grew darker. "Haneul killed your mother." Amara's breath stopped. She felt the words slam into her like a punch, knocking the air out of her lungs. "No," she whispered. "No, he wouldn't have." She found a way to cut him out of the vault, to keep him from unlocking the money, and he killed her for it. "He did," she shouted, covering her ears. "He did," the voice said. "We saw it. We watched him do it. He didn't want the serpents to recover the funds, so he removed the only person who could reveal where she hid the encryption keys." "No," Amara whispered again. "My mother died in Nigeria. She got sick, You really believe that?" Amara froze. Everything inside her went still. "She was poisoned," the voice continued. "And who do you think had access to her?" Amara felt her stomach twist into knots. She shook her head so violently her hair whipped around her face. "You're lying," she said, almost choking. "Haneul said the serpents would kill me. You're the ones trying to break in." "Because you have something that belongs to us," the man snapped. "He wants it too, but he's patient. He wants to groom you, manipulate you, make you trust him. Then he'll take everything your mother left behind." "No," Amara whispered. "No, he wouldn't." But doubt, sharp, cold, poisonous, slipped inside her chest. She thought about how calm Haneul had been. How he never explained anything fully. How he held her like he had already claimed her life. What if the serpents were right? Her breath trembled. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice shaking uncontrollably. "To take you home," the voice replied. "To the people who raised your mother, to the clan she betrayed, to the other half of your blood." "My blood?" He chuckled. "Did Haneul not tell you? You are not only Nigerian, girl. You carry Korean blood." Her heart nearly stopped. "That's impossible." "Is it?" the man asked softly. "Who told you your mother met your father in Nigeria? Who told you she wasn't running when he found her? Who told you your birth wasn't part of a cover?" Amara felt her world collapsing. Reality cracking. The truth unraveling too fast for her to catch. "You're lying," she whispered again, but her voice had lost its strength. The man pressed closer to the vent. "Open this door. Come with us. Let us show you the truth your mother died for." Amara's chest tightened so badly she could barely breathe. The vault room blurred. Her body trembled. Her heart raced. She didn't know who to trust. She didn't know what was real. She didn't know if Haneul was the enemy, or the only thing standing between her and death. Then suddenly, boom! A massive explosion shook the corridor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Boots thundered outside the vault. Men shouted in Korean. And then Amara heard a voice she recognized. Haneul's. Cold, sharp, deadly. "Step away from that door." Her breath caught. Her body went still. She had never heard anyone sound like that. A silent storm, controlled fury, death in human form. The man behind the vent snarled, "Kill him." Gunfire erupted. Amara covered her ears, screaming as bullets ricocheted outside the vault. The vault door trembled once. Twice. Then, silence. Dead, terrifying silence. Amara stood frozen, her palms pressed against the wall, tears streaming down her face. Footsteps approached the vault. Slow, calm, intimidating. Someone pressed the override panel. The vault door slid open. And there he stood. Haneul Kim. His black jacket splattered with blood. One sleeve torn. Eyes burning with a cold fury that made the room feel 10 degrees colder. He stepped inside, without looking back at the bodies behind him. Amara stared at him, breathless, terrified. And for the first time since the night began, she didn't know whether to run to him or run from him. Haneul stood in the doorway like a man carved from the cold itself. Blood streaked across his jaw. His hands dripped red. His eyes, they weren't the eyes of the calm, calculating king she'd met upstairs. These were the eyes of a man someone should never cross. Amara pressed herself into the corner, unable to breathe. He didn't speak, not at first. He looked at her. Then at the vent, where the whispering voice had taunted her. Then, finally, his gaze dropped to the trembling in her fingers. "Are you hurt?" he asked quietly. The softness of his voice made her flinch harder than the shouting outside. "No," she whispered, swallowing hard, "but they said things." "I know what they said." He stepped farther into the vault, and the door slid closed behind him automatically. They were alone. Amara wrapped her arms around herself, backing away even though there was nowhere else to go. "They said you killed my mother. They said you want to use me. They said I shouldn't trust you." Her voice cracked, the panic overflowing. "And I don't know what to believe anymore." Haneul stared at her for a long moment. Then he removed the bloody gloves from his hands and tossed them aside. "You believe what I show you," he said, "not what dying men scream to save themselves." Her throat tightened. "But what if they were telling the truth? What if you're lying?" The slightest movement passed through his expression. Not anger, something colder, something hurt buried under steel. "Come here," he said. "No." "Amara." She shook her head violently. "You won't touch me, not until I know who you really are." He exhaled slowly, as if he had expected this. "Then sit," he said, motioning to the padded floor. "You deserve to know everything." She hesitated, then slid down the wall, staying as far from him as possible. He didn't move closer. He gave her distance, exactly what she needed. When he spoke, his voice was different. Lower, rower, not like the king of the underworld. Like a man. "Your mother didn't just steal the serpent's fortune," he said. "She destroyed their entire system, their codes, their encrypted routes, every access point. And then she locked the remains inside a biometric system that only her blood could open." Amara felt her pulse racing. "They said that already." "They didn't tell you the most important part," Haneul replied. "She did it to protect you." Amara blinked. "Protect me from what?" "The serpents weren't just going to kill her," he said. "They were going to brand you, indoctrinate you, raise you to unlock the vault for them. Your mother escaped with you before they could take you." Her chest tightened painfully. "My mother escaped Korea." "Yes," he said. "She disappeared into Nigeria with an infant no one could trace. She started a new life so the serpents would never find you." Amara shook her head. "Then how did you find me?" Haneul didn't look away. "I was the one who helped her escape." Her breath caught. "What?" "I helped your mother flee Korea," he said calmly. "I smuggled her through the ports. I lied to the serpents about her whereabouts, and for years I kept them off her trail." Amara stared at him, shocked. "Why? Why would you help her?" Haneul hesitated. Then he answered. "Because before she ran, she asked me to protect you." Her mouth fell open. "What?" "She came to me," he said softly. "Your mother. She begged me not to let the serpents find her daughter. She told me she didn't care what happened to her, but she wanted you to live freely, without chains, without fear." Amara's eyes filled with tears. That can't be true." "It is," he said, "and I honored her request." She shook her head again, hugging herself tightly. "So what happened? Why did she die? They said you killed her." His jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. "She died of poisoning," he said. "That part is true." His fingers curled slightly. "But it wasn't me." "Then who?" she whispered. "The serpents." He said. She had grown careless, lonely. She wrote letters to her family back home. That was the mistake that exposed her location. Amara covered her mouth with shaking hands. "By the time my men arrived," he continued quietly, "she was already gone." A tear slipped down her cheek. She pressed her forehead to her knees. "She died because of them, and because of me." "No," he said sharply. "She died because she chose to protect you. That is not your fault." Amara tried to breathe, but her chest felt tight, suffocating. Her mother had lived a double life. Her father had sold her out of desperation. The Korean underworld wanted her dead. And the man in front of her, the king of the underworld, had been the only thing standing between her and chaos since the day she was born. It was too much. Too big. Too painful. Too unreal. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She whispered. Because until tonight, Haneul said, I wasn't certain how much of the truth you could bear, and because I needed you to trust your own instincts, not mine. She wiped her face, shaking. And what do your instincts say about me? Haneul studied her quietly. That you're terrified, he said, and fighting to hide it. Amara looked away. Of course I'm terrified. Everything I know is a lie. Then her voice cracked. And I don't know if I should trust you. He knelt down slowly, not close enough to touch her, but close enough that she could hear him clearly. You don't have to trust me, he said. Not today. Her breath hitched. But you do have to stay alive. He stood and offered her his hand. She didn't take it. He didn't force her. Instead, he stepped back and touched the vault door controls. We need to leave this room, he said. The serpents won't stop, not until they get what they came for. And what is that? She whispered. He looked at her, eyes deep, unreadable. You. Her heart pounded. Why me? Haneul stepped into the dim hallway and turned back to her. Because you're not just the key to what they lost. He paused. You're the key to everything they want to control. Amara stared at him, frozen. The alarms above them suddenly died. Silence fell. Too much silence. Haneul's expression changed instantly. He grabbed her arm, this time with urgency. They're inside the compound, he said. Amara's blood turned to ice. How many? His jaw tightened. All of them. Amara's heartbeat slammed against her ribs as Haneul pulled her into the dim corridor. The alarms were no longer blaring. The silence pressed against her ears like thick fog. Silence in a place like this meant one thing. The enemy was already inside. Haneul moved fast, switching on a small earpiece. Report, he commanded in Korean. Static. Then a frantic voice answered. They breached the west wing. We're holding them off, but... Gunfire cracked through the speaker. A grunt. Then nothing. Haneul, Amara whispered. Did he just... Keep moving, he said. They sprinted up the steel staircase. Amara stumbled on one step, but Haneul caught her arm without looking back. The moment his hand touched her skin, something jolted inside her, a mixture of fear, anger, and something she refused to name. They reached the ground floor and slipped into a side hallway lined with bonsai trees in glass cases. The aesthetic contrast was too surreal, calm beauty amidst an impending bloodbath. Haneul pulled a small device from the wall and scanned the hallway. They're close, he said quietly. Stay behind me. A shadow moved at the end of the corridor. Haneul instantly grabbed Amara and pushed her behind a pillar. He raised his hand, signaling silence. She held her breath. 2 Serpent Clan soldiers strode into view, full black gear, Korean tactical boots, earpieces, weapons ready. Their voices were low, urgent. One spoke in Korean. Search every room. The girl is somewhere on this floor. Amara squeezed her eyes shut. Not because she didn't understand the language, but because hearing herself described like hunted prey made her chest squeeze painfully. The second man stepped toward the bonsai cases, tapping the glass with his gun. She might be hiding, he muttered. Haneul didn't move. He didn't breathe. His hand hovered just inches from Amara, as if preparing to shield her. The first soldier took another step. Another. Closer. Amara panicked. What if he sees us? What if Haneul can't fight both? What if... Suddenly, a hand wrapped around her mouth from behind. She gasped, panic shooting through her. But the grip was familiar. Controlled. Quiet. Haneul leaned close to her ear, whispering in a voice so soft she almost didn't hear it. Don't make a sound. Her entire body locked. Haneul waited. The soldiers walked past them, but one stopped mid-step. He turned. Amara's heart stopped. The soldier stared directly toward their direction, eyes narrowing. She felt Haneul's muscles tense behind her. The soldier took one slow step closer, then another. He raised his gun. Amara felt a scream clawing up her throat. But before she could make a sound, Haneul moved. A single step. A single twist. A silent, lethal strike. The soldier dropped to the ground with a dull thud, eyes wide in shock. The second soldier spun around. Haneul shot him squarely in the forehead. The silence returned. Amara stumbled back, trembling uncontrollably. Haneul's hand wrapped around her arm, steadying her. "You're safe," he said. "No, I'm not," she cried, voice breaking. "I'm not safe anywhere, not with them chasing me, not with you telling half-truths. I don't even know who the real enemy is." Haneul looked at her then, a deep look, searching, intense. "Yes, you do," he said quietly. A crash erupted from the opposite hallway. The sound of something being smashed, or someone. Haneul grabbed Amara and pulled her into another room, shutting the sliding door behind them. The room was a tea chamber, traditional, warm lighting, tatami mats, low table, completely at odds with the chaos tearing through the compound. Amara pressed her back against the wall, gasping for air. "Why won't they stop?" she whispered. "What do they want from me that's worth so much death?" Haneul's jaw tightened. She could see it in his eyes, the thing he wasn't ready to tell her. But she needed the truth. "Tell me," she demanded. "All of it right now." Haneul walked toward her slowly, stopping just a foot away. "You want the full truth?" he asked. "Yes," she breathed. "You want to know why your mother hid the fortune in you?" "Yes." "You want to know why I bought you, rather than let the serpents take you?" "Yes," she said again, voice cracking. "And you want to know why the serpents will not stop until you are dead or in their hands?" Her breath trembled. "Yes." He exhaled a long, steady breath. Then, finally, he said, "Because you are the last surviving heir of the Serpent Clan's founder." Amara stared at him, cold rippling through her veins. "What?" Haneul didn't blink. "You are not just the key, Amara. You are the bloodline they want." She shook her head violently. "That's impossible. My mother, she couldn't have." "Your mother," he said softly, "was the founder's eldest daughter, the one who ran, the one they disowned when she refused to obey." A tear slid down Amara's cheek. No, that's not true. She never told me." "She never told you because she wanted you to grow up free," he said. "If anyone discovered her bloodline, especially the serpents, you would have been taken the moment you were born." Amara felt her knees weaken. She slid down the wall. "So I'm their princess," she whispered bitterly. "Their heir, their property." "No," Haneul said sharply. "You are nobody's property." Her voice broke. "Then why do they think I am?" He crouched in front of her, speaking softly. "Because the founder's bloodline controls their entire empire. Whoever controls you controls them. And my mother just left all that." "Yes," he said, "because she didn't want you to grow up in a kingdom built on blood." Amara pressed her hands over her face, shaking. "So all this, everything happening tonight, is because of who my mother was." "No," he said, "everything tonight is because of who you are." She looked up at him, eyes full of fear. "I don't want any of this." "I know," Haneul said gently, "but the Underworld doesn't care what you want, only what you are." Suddenly, a loud crash exploded against the door. Haneul stood immediately, stepping in front of Amara. The door shook. A second crash. Then a voice she now recognized, cold, mocking. "Amara, we found you." The door splintered at the edges. Amara's heart raced so violently she thought it would burst. Haneul turned slightly toward her and spoke in a voice she had never heard before. Calm but filled with something fierce. "When that door opens," he said, "do exactly what I say." The wood cracked again. Her breath caught. "Haneul," she whispered. He didn't look at her. He simply said, "I will not let them take you." The door exploded inward, and the serpents rushed in. The door didn't simply break. It erupted. Wood splintered across the room. The lanterns flickered violently. 3 serpent soldiers stormed in, eyes locked directly on Amara like predators spotting wounded prey. Haneul moved before they did. He didn't hesitate, didn't breathe, didn't blink. He lunged, grabbed the first soldier by the throat, and slammed him onto the tatami mat with a force that shook the floor. The soldier's gun clattered across the room. The second soldier swung a metal baton. Haneul ducked, twisted, and drove his elbow into the man's ribs. A sharp crack echoed. The man collapsed. The third soldier pointed a gun directly at Amara. She froze. Her heart stopped. "Haneul," she screamed. Haneul spun just as the soldier fired. He tackled her to the floor. The bullet grazed the wall behind them. Sparks flew. Amara gasped as she landed hard on the tatami mat, her breath knocked from her lungs. Haneul didn't give the shooter a second chance. He grabbed the gun the fallen guard dropped, rolled across the room, and fired a single shot. The soldier fell. Dead. Silence hit the room like a physical weight. Amara lay there, chest heaving, eyes wide. Her ears rang. Her palms stung from the impact. She turned her head slowly and found Haneul kneeling beside her, breathing hard. He wasn't looking at the bodies. He wasn't checking for more threats. He was looking at her. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice unsteady. "No," she whispered. I don't think so. You saved me." He exhaled sharply, almost like anger, almost like relief. "I told you," he said. "I wouldn't let them take you." Before she could respond, heavy footsteps echoed from the hall. More soldiers. Too many. Haneul grabbed her hand and pulled her to her feet. "We're leaving, now." They ran through a back exit leading to a narrow outdoor walkway. Snow was falling harder now, dusting Amara's hair and eyelashes. The cold slapped her face, but adrenaline drowned the chill. "Haneul," she gasped as they sprinted across the walkway. "Where are we going?" "The inner courtyard," he said. "There's a tunnel beneath it. It will take us to the mountain." Amara almost tripped. "The mountain?" "It's the safest place right now," he said. Gunfire cracked behind them. Bullets pinged off the metal railings. Haneul shoved Amara ahead of him, using his body to shield her. "Keep moving." She pushed herself forward, legs burning, lungs screaming. Her hair whipped in the wind. Snow and ash stung her cheeks. Behind them, the serpents shouted in Korean. "Kotchepa Enos, Kogunyaru Enos, Kotchepa Enos." "Get her, capture her." Amara's blood ran cold. They crossed the walkway, reached the courtyard, a wide, open space surrounded by traditional Korean columns. Snow blanketed the stone ground. In the center was a wooden shrine structure with an underground hatch hidden beneath the floorboards. But they weren't alone. A group of serpent soldiers were already waiting there. Amara skidded to a halt. Haneul stepped in front of her instantly. The serpents raised their guns. Amara's breath caught. There were too many. Haneul couldn't take all of them. The soldiers parted like a tide. A man stepped forward. Not masked. Not armored. His face was visible. Sharp cheekbones. Cold eyes. A cruel smirk twisted on his lips. He looked Korean, but his accent, when he spoke, held a strange blend, not fully Seoul, not fully elsewhere. "Haneul," he said with a mocking bow, "we meet again." Haneul's jaw clenched. "Yihyun." Amara had never heard that name before, but the way Haneul said it, low, lethal, told her everything she needed to know. This wasn't just an enemy. This was personal. Yihyun's gaze drifted to Amara. And he smiled, an ugly, knowing smile that made her step backward. "So," Yihyun said, "this is the girl, the heir, the vault key. I expected more." Haneul's voice cut like a blade. "Touch her, and I'll tear your throat out." Yihyun chuckled. Always so emotional. That's why your dynasty is dying, Haneul. You get attached. He pointed casually at Amara. Bring her. Half a dozen soldiers stepped forward. Amara felt her breath stop. She grabbed Haneul's sleeve without thinking. Please, don't let them. I won't, he said. But his eyes were calculating. He was outnumbered, outgunned. And Amara realized. He was preparing to do something reckless. Haneul, she whispered, gripping his arm. Don't get yourself killed. As long as you live, he said softly, it doesn't matter. Her eyes widened. Don't say that. But he didn't take it back. He stepped forward, positioning himself entirely between her and Yihyun. The soldiers lifted their weapons. Haneul spread his arms slightly, not surrendering, but preparing to fight with nothing but instinct and fury. Amara, he whispered without turning. Yes, she choked. When I say run, you run. Her heart pounded painfully. I'm not leaving you. You have to. No. Amara, he said, voice breaking for the first time, you don't understand. You are the last of your mother's line. You are the only one who can stop them if they take you. Yihyun raised a hand. The soldiers aimed their guns directly at Haneul. Take him out, Yihyun ordered. No, Amara screamed. The world slowed. The triggers clicked. Haneul tensed. Then, a massive explosion tore through the courtyard from above. The shockwave knocked everyone off their feet. Amara, Haneul, Yihyun, the soldiers. Snow and debris rained from the sky as the upper roof collapsed. Amara hit the ground hard, coughing from the dust. Gunfire erupted chaotically. Shouting. Screaming. Madness. Through the smoke, Amara saw Haneul fighting to stand. He grabbed her wrist. This is our chance, he rasped. The explosion had blown open the shrine floor, revealing the underground hatch leading to the escape tunnel. Run, Amara. She didn't look back. She ran. Haneul pushed her toward the hatch and shoved her inside. She slid down the steep tunnel, tumbling into darkness. Dirt and cold stone scraped her hands as she tried to slow herself. Above her, she heard voices. She's getting away. Don't let her reach the mountain. Haneul, stop him. Then, a single gunshot. A groan. A heavy thud. Haneul, she cried. No answer. Haneul. But the tunnel carried her deeper into the mountain, swallowing her screams. The tunnel twisted downward in a spiral of darkness and ice. Amara slid helplessly, hands scraping against rough stone, breath catching in her throat. Haneul, she shouted again, her voice echoing off cold walls. Haneul, answer me. Nothing. Only the distant rumble of collapsing stone and muffled shouting far above. Her chest tightened painfully. What if he had been hit? What if he was lying in the courtyard bleeding because of her, because he tried to protect her? No, she whispered fiercely to herself. He can't be dead, not him. The tunnel leveled out, dropping her into a shallow pool of freezing water. She coughed, scrambling to stand, her limbs trembling violently. The air here was cold enough to sting her lungs. Icy frost coated the stone walls, and moonlight filtered faintly through cracks in the rock above. She hugged herself for warmth as she stepped forward. The tunnel stretched ahead, long and silent. Then she heard footsteps. Amara froze instantly, her breath halted. Slow, steady approaching. Haneul, she whispered. The footsteps stopped. A beat of silence. Then, a low laugh. A familiar, horrifying laugh. Yihyun stepped out of the shadows. His black coat was torn at the sleeve. Blood streaked his cheek, but his eyes, those cold, cruel eyes, were clear and shining with triumph. Finally, he said softly, alone at last. Amara stumbled backward. No, you can't be here. Haneul should have stopped you. Oh, he tried. Yihyun smirked. He's bleeding on the courtyard floor. If he isn't dead yet, he will be soon. Her breath hitched. You're lying. Believe what you want, Yihyun shrugged. But you're done running now. He approached her slowly, hands behind his back, posture terrifyingly calm. You look just like your mother at your age, he murmured. Strong eyes, foolish heart. Don't talk about her, Amara snapped, trembling. Why not? She was one of us before she betrayed us. He tilted his head. Before she betrayed me. Amara blinked. You knew her. Yihyun's smile turned sharp. Knew her. I loved her. She was supposed to marry into my family, unite the clans, strengthen our rule, but she chose a different life and took everything with her. Amara's blood ran cold. Your mother, Yihyun continued, was the one destined to take over the Serpent clan. And you were meant to follow her, but she ran from her duties, from her destiny, from me. Amara shook her head fiercely. My mother wouldn't have loved a man like you. She wouldn't have wanted this world for me. Yihyun's jaw clenched, and that was her mistake. He reached for her face. Amara swatted his hand away angrily. Don't touch me. His expression darkened. You don't understand, Amara. You were born into power. A kingdom was waiting for you before you could crawl, and your mother stole you away from it. She raised you like a common girl in a foreign country, hiding you from your birthright. My birthright, she bit out. My birthright is the life I had. My mother protected me from monsters like you. Yihyun's smile returned, but it lacked warmth. And now she's dead, and you are here, and I am the only one left who understands the world you were meant to rule. Amara backed away until her shoulders hit cold stone. What do you want from me? He stepped closer, breath misting in the freezing air. I want what your blood unlocks, he said. The codes, the vault, the fortune your mother stole, the throne she abandoned. I will never open anything for you, she hissed. He chuckled. You will, one way or another. He grabbed her by the arm. But suddenly, a voice echoed through the tunnel. Let her go. Yihyun stiffened. Amara's heart lurched. Haneul stood at the tunnel entrance, one hand clutching his bleeding side, his breath shallow but eyes blazing with fury. Snowflakes clung to his hair. Blood dripped from his fingers, but he stood tall, unyielding, unstoppable. Yihyun's smile disappeared. You're still alive. You're disappointed, Haneul replied. Yihyun tightened his grip on Amara. One more step, and I break her neck. Haneul's expression didn't change. No, you won't. Why not? Yihyun smirked. Because you need her alive, Haneul said, and because you know I'll kill you before you touch her again. Yihyun's jaw tightened. Amara felt her pulse spike. The tunnel filled with silence, cold, sharp, suffocating. Then Haneul spoke again. Let her go, he said, his voice low and dangerous. She is under my protection. Yihyun's laughter echoed through the tunnel. Ah, there it is. The great Haneul Kim claiming someone so unlike you. Haneul took another step forward. Yihyun's fingers tightened on Amara's arm. She belongs to me, Yihyun hissed. No, Haneul said softly. She chose nothing. She belongs to no one. Amara's breath shook. Yihyun opened his mouth to respond. But Haneul suddenly moved. Fast. Too fast. He lunged forward with a savage, desperate force she had never seen, slamming into Yihyun and ripping Amara out of his grip. They crashed against the stone wall, trading blows, brutal, loud, vicious. Their movements blurred. Their fists cracked against bone. Their boots scraped the floor violently. Amara stumbled away, gasping, watching as the two men tore into each other like beasts. Haneul grunted as Yihyun's elbow hit his wounded side. He staggered but didn't fall. He slammed Yihyun's head into the stone, cracking it sharply. Yihyun roared and tackled Haneul to the ground. No, Amara screamed. She grabbed a broken piece of stone from the floor and ran toward them. Yihyun saw her coming and reached for her ankle. Haneul seized the moment. He twisted behind Yihyun. A knee to the spine. A hand to the jaw. A brutal chokehold. Yihyun gasped, clawing at Haneul's grip. You will lose her like you lost her mother, Yihyun choked out. Haneul's eyes darkened. No, he whispered. He snapped Yihyun's neck with a single, merciless twist. The sound echoed through the tunnel like a final verdict. Yihyun's body fell to the cold stone. Silence washed over them. Amara stood frozen, chest rising and falling rapidly, tears spilling down her face. Haneul turned to her slowly, his breath ragged, his wound dripping blood. Amara, he whispered. She ran to him before she could think. He caught her in his arms, burying his face in her hair, breathing hard. His blood stained her clothes, but she didn't care. For the first time, she felt him tremble. You're safe now, he murmured. She shook against him. You almost died. You shouldn't have followed me. I'll always follow you, he said quietly, even into the dark. She pulled back, wiping her tears. Why? Why do you care so much? You barely know me. Haneul raised her chin gently. Because your mother asked me to protect you. But I stayed because I chose to. Her breath caught. You don't belong to the serpents, he said. You don't belong to fate. You don't belong to me. He pressed his forehead to hers. You belong to yourself. Amara closed her eyes. For the first time since the nightmare began, her heart didn't feel like it was breaking. The tunnel was cold. The future uncertain. Her past shattered. But she wasn't alone. Not anymore. Haneul took her hand. Come, he whispered, let's go home. And together, limping and bruised, they walked toward the faint light at the end of the tunnel, two shadows leaving the underworld behind. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more interesting stories, subscribe, like this video, and drop a comment about your favorite moment. Your engagement helps us bring you more fascinating stories every week.